Hello and welcome to the Coatings Talk Livestream. I'm thrilled to have you here and join the stream this evening for another exciting conversation in this content series. Your support of Coatings Talk has been incredible, and thanks to viewers like you, we've been able to keep talking about the fascinating worlds of coatings and corrosion, amazing innovations and industry trends for both the global coatings and corrosion industries. Whether you're joining us live or catching the replay, I truly appreciate you being part of this growing community. Let's get started and make this broadcast one to remember. I want to talk about AI agents. They're rapidly transforming many industries. And according to Forbes, 25% of enterprises this year are expected to deploy AI agents. Now, these advanced tools are designed to handle complex, multi-step tasks, marking a significant evolution from basic automation. And by integrating AI agents, businesses are not only streamlining operations, but also enhancing customer interactions and decision-making processes. This shift underscores the growing reliance on AI to drive efficiency and innovation across various sectors. Various sectors with great potential, including the global coatings and corrosion industries. So let me bring into this conversation Mike Kline. Mike, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Jim. It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
I'm so glad to have you. Mike, you and I, we've known each other for over a decade, and I know that a lot of people watching probably know of your time with SSPC, KTA, also with AMP, but you have a really amazing profession that you're working in now related to AI agents. Why don't you kind of give an introduction to everyone about what you do and a little bit about your involvement with AI agents?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jim. Like Jim said, I spent 20 years between SSPC and AMP. And then after the merger, I went off and did some other things. One of those things, more recently, actually, when when ChatGPT first came onto the scene, probably 2-ish years ago, it took the world by storm, and a lot of people really didn't know how to use it. But for me, if you know anything about me, and if you are familiar with my work at SSPC, I've always been involved in the tech side and always fascinated by the tech side. So when AI came out, that was one of those things where I was jumped in with both feet right away, and just to see what it is, right, and what I could do with it. And then in the following year and a half-ish, the tools exploded exponentially. And so what I started doing was I found a platform that I could develop on. So more than just chatting with ChatGPT or Claude AI or any Gemini, any of the other platforms out there. This platform, it's called Chip, lets you develop your own AI agents and AI apps for their purpose-built apps. Basically for productivity is the kind of the easiest thing to call it. And so that's what I've been doing for the past since last September was when I really started diving into it and learning all I can about it. And yeah, so I've currently got I know I get to plug this later on, but I've got over 60 apps that I've developed. I know Jim's going to show a few of them to you here today, and I'm excited to talk about the potential impact for what AI can have in the coatings and corrosion industry.
Yeah, Mike, we're going to definitely show several different of these agents, and they are very dynamic and absolutely amazing, not only face worth, but also to work with as well. Mike, if you can remember back in the onset of the the pandemic and everyone was forced from office to being remote workers and doing teams and relying on digital technologies and things like that. In the coatings and corrosion industry, had industries really did a good job at that. They were able in the endemic. We really needed to see both sides of the coatings and corrosion industries really kind of continue to embrace digital transformation and digital technologies. And in my opinion, this is my opinion, I don't see that really happening. A little bit here and there related to AI, mostly for internal use, but not really capitalizing on the incredible things that AI and intelligent technologies could do to transform both industries, especially related to educating and enlightening people and really kind of showcasing both sides of both industries. So,
Jim, I don't know if you can hear me or
there
not,
are
but
these tools that are out there available for you. You there?
yeah, I'm here. You're freezing
Are
on
you
my
there, Mike?
screen. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, there
Yeah.
could be some lag going on. But what we're going to talk about, how this particular technology can really try to transform the coatings and corrosion industries. Um, Mike, if you could do a favor, I know you kind of went back and you talked about your background related to AI agents and things like that. But the one thing that people might want to understand is what's the difference between general AI tools, you talked about Chat GPT and Claude AI and everything like that, versus these purpose-built agents that are really tailored for specific industry needs. What's the distinction between them?
Well, so first of all, and I want to share a quick stat with you as well, because I heard it on a podcast the other day, and it's very relevant to what you were just saying. The stat is that 50% of Americans use AI every week. If you had asked me that, I would have thought it was higher. I thought everybody was using AI. Apparently, they're not. Um, Only 7% of businesses have adopted AI within their companies. And if you look at the trends or the usage patterns for it, these 50% of people who are using AI are using it during work hours. So it falls off drastically over the weekend. So people are already using AI on the job, but their companies haven't adopted it yet. So there's a huge opportunity here for all businesses, especially in the coating and corrosion industry. And so the question you asked was about general AI agents versus purpose-built. A general AI agent is something like a Chat GPT or a Claude AI, which is a product of Anthropic, or a Copilot from Microsoft, Google's Gemini. I think Llama is the one that Meta uses. Those are really general, and they're meant to be very good. First of all, they know everything, right? Like literally everything. So they are very good at general tasks. They'll help you do research. They'll help you rewrite your emails, or they could help you do any number of things. When you start getting into specific purpose-built AI agents, and what I'll do, Jim, is I'll harken back to several years ago, if you recall, when we came up with that new tool for the SSPC website to download standards, right? With these purpose-built AI agents, what you can do is build basically a walled garden that contains specific information for, your company, or even as granular as your company's products or a specific product. Yesterday, we were talking about product data sheets, right? You can have a specific purpose-built AI agent that focuses, on one thing, and it could be walled off from the general internet, right? It doesn't have to be something where it's going out onto the internet and finding information. It's an expert on what you feed to it. And so that's really what purpose built is. It doesn't pull in a lot of general knowledge. The magic in that is usually in the prompt that you give it. And what these AI agents really need is for the human interaction part is where you tell it what it's supposed to do and think, and that really wires it in and focuses it.
Perfect. Yeah. And we really look at the evolution of AI in industrial settings, as you mentioned, we went from, traditional to some generic tools to these purpose-built solutions that are being adopted. And, based on the statistics you covered, there's a wide open opportunity for companies of all sizes and organizations to take advantage of these particular agents, especially related to knowledge transfer, 24/7, 365 customer service and support, technical support, product information, to even like you had mentioned about related to standards. So if you have some questions related to industry standards on certain aspects of a particular standard, that these agents can help you as well. So can you answer, a couple questions come to mind and related to the aspect of knowledge preservation crisis. We do have a knowledge drain that's happening, and it's happening because of not really people, let's say, leaving our industry, coatings and corrosion, and going into other industries. Is that we're seeing a wave of retirements. How can agents really kind of help that crisis?
If you think of an agent as, kind of think back to in the end of the last century, whenever Steven Spielberg embarked on that project to record all the World War II vets, right? And he wanted to record that for posterity. That's essentially what you can do with an AI agent. You can build an AI agent that is basically a mimic of me or you or anybody out there, right? So if you have somebody who is a prolific author, think of all the folks who have written books for the industry or presented papers, the people who've contributed to standards, or even people who have presented, and we have video and audio of them and all their written work. You can load that into an agent, and that could be virtual gym, right? And we can even teach the agent to not specifically necessarily talk like you, although I know that technology is out there, but you can teach that agent and interact with people using the same basic personality that an individual has. So when you're talking about folks who are retiring with all this institutional knowledge, the goal would be it could be as simple as getting them to, sit down and make a recording, give them questions to answer, or some way for them to pass that knowledge along, so that you do have it saved into an agent for future use.
And that future use doesn't necessarily mean to replace a human with the AI. It could be utilized as a training resource. It could be used
Yeah,
as a database to be able to pull information that, that knowledge, once a person retires, in some cases, there could be aspects of their knowledge and their expertise, experience, and everything that's lost over time, and not available. But now it can be captured, and it's part of that training data for it as well. Now,
right.
what I also found really interesting, you were talking about, I always think of when you think of Chat GBT, or you think of like even these agents, you think of more of a wide world type of thing where it's got all this information about everything. But these AI agents can be really purpose built to be narrow and really trained for specific individual tasks. So let's say in an industrial setting, maybe they're just basically running a certain process and things like that. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. The nice thing is the agents, they can be they can connect to anything, right? It's a computer. So if you've got an API, you can connect anything out there into your agent, and it could, as long as you build it correctly, it could run the process for you. So it's drawing a blank on the process. Think of a process, Jim. It could run it.
Perfect. I think I'm back now.
Yeah, you were frozen there for a second. I don't know if that's me freezing or you freezing. So
No, that was me this time.
okay.
So, let's talk about, I really kind of thought about some potential AI agent innovations specifically for the coatings and corrosion industry. And we're going to run through all your examples too. I'm going to bring those up. The first one that I really thought was related to predictive maintenance. And I think that, how these agents can be utilized is that there's information being fed into them, and they can really kind of predict corrosion risk, and also too when material might start to degrade, and then anything related to maintenance and things like that. So you could really feed a lot of data into it to say, this bridge is due for maintenance painting, or it might need certain types of repairs done and things like that. Yesterday on my other page, I had done a stream, and it had the CEO from IBM, and he was talking about how they're working with AI and with Boeing related to corrosion prediction related to aircraft for Boeing. And this is going to be an AI tool utilized by Boeing to help manage and mitigate and deal with corrosion issues for really all the planes that they produce and things like that. The next thing was related to smart technical support. And I think that by leveraging AI agents, they can really provide an advanced level of technical support that's available around the clock. It can also be done in other languages as well. And to your point, it has that human aspect to it because, it has the AI voice and things like that are built into it. So it's going to be really, in a way, a little bit more friendlier, warm, and things like that. It's going to have less emotion tied into it, because you might have people on the other end that might be a little worked up and everything like that. And then the other thing that it really came to mind was quality control and inspection, where you utilize AI agents for assessing coatings performance, and then really dealing with defects and doing coating assessments. And it could be the same thing related to corrosion as well. Now, you and I were talking yesterday about, knowledge capture and expertise retention, which you were just talking about earlier, where you're literally taking potentially decades of corporate knowledge and expertise, rolling it into the agent. Now, when we talked yesterday, you talked about digital twin.
Right.
What is a digital twin?
Well, it's basically what I was talking about before. I mean, you take a person's knowledge and expertise over the years, and you feed it into this agent, so that if we were to take Jim Kunkel PCS and everything that and we can teach the agent what it basically becomes your digital twin. So we could even call the agent Jim. We could call the agent Jim Kunkel, and then if anybody who wants to interact with it, they would be able to go and find out, because it's basically your digital twin. What do you know about painting bridges, or what do you know about tape wrap systems or FRP? It really is. It's literally making a duplicate of you as an AI agent.
Yeah, and making a person a digital twin, I can
Yeah.
see the same thing related to equipment, or you can make a digital twin of a certain process. Like if you're looking at like a chemical structure of, let's say, a coating formulation and things like that. In theory, you could probably make digital twins that way too.
Well,
So
you have. Let me just cut in. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. So, kind of going back to what you said before about things like predictive maintenance, right? We have in the coatings industry over the years, they're collecting volumes and volumes of data.
Yeah.
A lot of it's analog, but it's still data, right? And if you can look at 100 years of bridge preservation, for example, and paint cycles and weathering cycles and degradation of certain coating types, and feed that all in, and the agent, all it has to do is kind of go through it in 30 seconds, and it can come back and spit out to you and go, you're going to have to do maintenance for the next 20 years. And then by year 22, you're going to have to do a full recoat based on history, right?
Yeah.
We have that data. We just need to get it into a form that can go into the system. And it's really going to be that simple.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. It's frankly scary.
Mike, do you want, since we're having some, I'm having some bandwidth All right, I'm back again. Oh no. All right, having havoc tonight. You want me to go ahead and just bring up these AI agents so we can go through them? And
Yeah, why
I'm
don't
going
we
to shut
do
my
that?
camera off and see if that helps out.
Okay. I just to kind of tell the audience here, the folks who are watching, when Jim and I talked about doing this live stream this morning, I went ahead and built 5 different agents that I thought could be demonstrative for everybody to see what the possibilities are. And so Jim has them up here. I built a standards agent, a spec writer, a contract builder, one that I call coatings inspector, and then a CIP study assistant. And so this first one, this standards agent, and Jim, I don't know if you want to just kind of sail through this.
Sure.
So the standards agent, that kind of harkens back to what we were talking about earlier when I mentioned the standards download tool that we had at SSPC so many years ago. The standards agent would basically, now this is a very rudimentary agent, but it's actually very smart for the way it works. Right now, where it's pulling all of its information from the internet at large, right? So it goes out and it finds, like that first one, it says explain SSPC PA2. If you click on that, it's gonna bring up an answer for you, and that's based on all the information that it's pulling from the internet. The interesting thing is, if you go back to the walled garden and you make this a specific, if AMP wanted to do a specific AMP agent, it would create this walled garden and it would load in all of its standards. And then, AMP members could log in and they could just engage with this agent to figure out the perfect standards to use for projects. And, it could compare and contrast and do all sorts of different nifty things. So the standards agent is meant to be, basically your standards consultant on a project.
Now, is there any prompt that you want to give me? Because down at the bottom, everyone will see there's a prompt bar down there. You can actually type in to chat. Is there a particular question that you would want me to type in?
I mean, Jim, why don't you put something? And I put some pre-made prompts there.
Oh, you already did then. Okay.
Yeah, those
it's still
4
pulling information on PA2.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, why don't you ask it, what would determine using PA2 versus another standard or something like that. And the nice thing about these agents is they learn as they go as well. So, as you are interacting and engaging with it, if it makes any mistakes, you can call it out and say, and this is the human factor, right? If you're an expert, you could say, look, I know that that's incorrect. Here's a correct answer. And the agent will say, okay, thank you for correcting me. And it'll add it to its knowledge base.
Yeah, I like on here where the answer was like, when do I use it? During quality control, for compliance documentation, for inspection procedures. So it gives you, when you really want to use PA2.
Right.
The other thing too that I found interesting here is that, as we know with a lot of standards, they're routinely updated, and it says current version. The most recent version of PA2 is from 2022.
Yeah. I know you have to forgive me because I'm no longer in the industry. So a lot of the stuff that I put together was from memory, but some of the topics that were hot back then in the 2022 is kind of what I was relying on.
Sure. The next one that you had created was a specification writer for coating and corrosion project specifications. And for example, we can go and click on here, help me write a spec for a coatings project. And as we prompt it here.
Yeah. So when you prompt it, what I asked the agent to do in this case was to ask the user questions. what type of project is it? Where is it located? What's the subject, substrate, the service environment, the existing conditions? So, as you go through and engage and answer those questions, it's going to work out the best approach to take.
Perfect.
The other key about these things is I always tell the agents that I build, whenever it comes up, like for the spec writer, if it comes up with a final spec doc and you tell it it's finalized, it's also going to tell you should have an expert review this for accuracy. Because as for now, every AI large language model or agent, they all have a disclaimer that they can make mistakes. And that's true. They're not always going to be correct.
Yeah.
But they're correct way more often than not, I believe, especially when it's purpose-built agents like this that can be trained on specific knowledge.
Yeah, it all comes down to the training data. If there is erroneous information in it, anything that might be, let's call it bias, not bias on a personal, but there could be related to product biases, or there could be biases on best practices that could be built into the training model that could really cause a little bit of havoc for it. So this is a pretty, I like this particular spec writing. The contract builder here, go ahead.
So on the spec writer, it's an interesting thing because years ago when I worked at KTA, I remember that they spent a lot of money and effort building a paint spec writing tool. And I built this thing in about an hour today. So, it's a lot faster. It's tapping into already vast knowledge. It's already out on the internet. So it really is, you can really gain efficiencies with these kind of tools and save time.
That's what it's all about. It's about augmenting the human versus a lot of people will jump to the conclusion that, oh, this is going to replace me. And to your point, this is really to enhance efficiency. But the other thing too, where I utilize AI is, if I'm writing an article or doing some type of research, I will take the information that I've written down and I'll run it through basically through Microsoft, through why am I doing this? Copilot. Get a little senior moment there. Right through Copilot because there are sometimes aspects that I forgot or overlooked, and it'll also give me some hints and recommendations on things. So I find that really useful because if I'm trying to explain something to somebody or I'm trying to capture something in an article, I want to make sure I can grab as much information as possible. And maybe I've missed some stuff, or I've incorrectly stated something, and it can actually provide me a link and I can go verify everything. I really find that fascinating. But again, it's just not taking the information that comes from the AI and utilizing it. It's really kind of taking it, digesting it, vetting it, making sure that it is very accurate information. And in majority of time, it always is, but it's always best to be safe than sorry.
Well, and you've probably seen, kind of in a similar vein, commercials recently for a product called Otter AI. Otter is basically a meeting recording tool, and so it captures the meetings, and you can, it can ask it to provide summaries and action items and so forth. And I found it, that way, when you're in a meeting, you're in a meeting. You can pay attention. You don't have to worry about taking all kinds of notes because Otter does it for you better than you ever could. And the other use I found, you mentioned putting things into ChatGPT. I was running the foundation for the American Subcontractors Association for a few months last year. And when we would have our board meetings, I would take the recording of those board meetings and I would run the notes through Claude AI and ask it to build me my meeting minutes. And so, I could, it would make official minutes according to Robert's rules and, including motions and action items. And it was really a time-saving task for me and that foundation. And so think about it. If you are in any kind of meeting, and it's recorded. Or Jim, even when you're doing these live streams or any of your podcasts, you could take that transcript, run it through an AI, and have it write an article for you that you could put in, a magazine or a periodical somewhere. So it really makes individuals more powerful.
Yeah, and also to your point, you can take the content you created and do multiple things with it through the use of AI.
Yeah, exactly.
So this one's
So the
contract
contract builder was pretty simple and straightforward. It's you have a project that you're starting and you need a contract. Whether it's with an owner or with a subcontractor, the contract builder will interact with you and ask you what your needs are, and then it will go ahead and spit out a contract that you can have reviewed by your attorneys and try to put into place.
Excellent. The next one was the coatings inspector. I found this one
Yeah, the main point I
fascinating.
had here, it was basically, I know that inspectors are out there already creating their own reports and gathering their own data. This is really something where you would feed it into the agent and have it summarize your report and key findings, so you could write your report for the owner.
Nice. That's a big time savings there as well.
Yeah. So the nice thing about these agents is you have the ability to upload documents to it, and it can interact with the documents based on your prompts.
And then I would probably imagine there could be third-party type of applications that could be tied into this as well. We have a lot of digital inspection.
Well, I was thinking of,
apps
I
and
know,
things like
I know they're not called True QC anymore, but this would certainly be something that would be, something that could be integrated into a True QC type of app.
Yeah, and I could see this also too for a company that might be providing corrosion assessments or coating
Yeah.
assessments, and then they get all the information, all the data testing and everything like that. And this is literally doing a report on what the findings were, and maybe even offering a recommendation. Again, you're going to have someone review that to make sure that it makes sense and it also follows best practice and industry standards.
Yeah, exactly.
This one is interesting, related to the CIP study assistant. I will get routinely messages from people saying, "Hey, I'm going for my CIP3 peer. Is there any resources for me, any way to help me kind of study for it?" And so, something like this, is that what this is kind of geared to maybe kind of help a little?
Yeah, it's interesting. The inspiration for this was, I have a friend whose daughter is getting her doctorate in nursing, and I have a nephew who's doing the same thing. And it occurred to me that there are specific materials that they're reviewing, and so I created study buddies for them, basically, by getting their electronic materials, loading it into the agent, saying, okay, if you want to query against um, this information to help you study for an exam, you can do that. And so I kind of envision the same thing here. AMP has all the CIP materials; they're all electronic. You could really load it in here and create a study buddy for your students to help them prepare for exams and peer review and so forth.
Yeah. So some of the challenges and opportunities, typically for barriers to adoption, you hear about cost and complexity, and then also related to skilled gaps that are internal. But when you're really looking at something like this, you're offering this off on a subscription, I believe, basis. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And it probably costs you like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, right?
Exactly. No, yeah, the cost can add up depending on the kind of resources you're using.
But it's within reasonable reach of a small enterprise up to a
Yes.
large enterprise. It's nothing that crazy of a cost. When it comes to complexity, what type of they need quantum computers and things like that to be able to run this?
Well, no, so it's all cloud based, right? So you
There you
saw
go.
the
Yes.
yeah, you saw the agents that I built. They are all hosted on this chip platform, um, and so I'm using their cloud basically. Um, but there are opportunities if you want to have a specific purpose built AI agent that doesn't communicate with the outside world. I think Llama from Meta enables you to install that on your own machine in your own building, and keep it from going out and being influenced by anything else. So there are options out there for this. Probably the biggest question I get is about security, the security
Yeah.
of data. When you are using a chat GPT, whatever you're putting into it, it's learning off of. That's just the way it's built. But when you do use these purpose-built agents like this, everything is kind of contained within that agent, and within whatever server that lives on. And so the only way it would, and it gets shared with itself, but it doesn't get shared with the larger language model at large. So the data is contained in there. The other question I get, because I was talking to a group about it was an association taking an agent and sticking it inside their members only area. And so the
Mm,
concern is it accessing sensitive data, or is it, what's it accessing? And the answer is it's only going to access what we allow it to access.
yeah.
It can't go where it's not allowed to go. You give it specific parameters, and it stays within those parameters. So, but security is a question I get all the time. Intellectual property protection. You don't want somebody's product information that's patented, somehow making it around a firewall and getting out into the wild. And so those kind of questions are important as well.
When it comes to kind of implementing, what type of roadmap is there for a company who would be interested in this?
Um, you know, you have to look at if you look back at the stat that I mentioned before, that really only 7% of businesses have officially adopted AI. I think the roadmap is, what I would want to do is I would want to sit down, and talk a little bit with them about, you know, how many people do they want to have access? What do they want to do with it? What's the purpose of it for them? Um, and because you can have it so, um, if it's a purpose-built agent, right, then it,
Hmm.
it only does certain things. Or you could have it be more widespread, or you can even have your own internal development environment. I know a lot of these leading edge companies subscribe to a lot of the bigger models right now, and they have these internal development environments that their staff are using to try to build their own agents. So it just depends on what your tolerance is for it and what your understanding is for it. It doesn't take long to build out. But you would want to get with your IT folks and make a plan. You would want to get with your executive leadership and have them understand what's going on. I don't
Yeah.
think it's something that you would just dive into, for the sake of doing.
Yeah, I could see a company kind of sitting down and really identifying, high value aspects of their company or their organization, and then looking at, okay, what could be a potential ROI by doing this? If we have agents that can be available for technical support or provide information or membership services or anything like that, this is going to provide an ROI because now we're available
Right.
24/7, 365. So that's going to help us capture the customer, the client, the member, to maybe have them do more. Maybe they purchase more. They have more of a positive attitude to the company, the product, or the organization, versus the old traditional methods, which are we're going to have outsourced customer service, or we're going to have people working around the clock to physically answer questions and do things. So there's going to be a great value where you can maximize, really, the expenses of having a workforce, but
Yeah.
augmenting it with this AI And then, related to the really taking the steps down this path is that you don't have to be a large enterprise to do this. These can be tailored for small, medium-sized enterprises, but also built up to companies that are larger companies. And that's what I like, the flexibility and the versatility of these particular systems. So
Yeah. I would say at a bare minimum, if you talk about getting ready to do it, at a bare minimum, it's so simple to build one of these chatbots and put it on your website. And all you have to do is train it with the content that's on your website. If you go to my website, you'll see that I've got one there. And all it does is it goes through your website, and it reads what's there, and then it regurgitates that back to users who ask questions. The other thing you can do, I mean, you could also add more information to it, but it's so simple to do. And like you said, Jim, it's available 24/7. You can have it lead to wherever you want it to go. So if they have specific information that the bot doesn't answer, you could say, call us in the morning, or, send email to our customer support team, or whatever. Super simple to do, super non-intrusive, not very expensive. So if it was me, that's the first thing I would do. I would just start there, see how it performs, and then start thinking about how else can we use it.
perfect. So we're going to close out this live stream and talk about the path forward. We covered so much information related to AI agents, showing a lot of different examples of really different things that were set up. Whether you're looking to understand standards better, write specifications, develop contracts, do coding assessments, corrosion assessments, or even if you're studying for a certification and you want to get some help related to study.
And Jim's frozen again.
But the thing, all right, I'm back. The coatings
That's
and
all right.
corrosion industries to really embrace AI, but also these AI agents as a tool for innovation and future opportunities. Now, in the aspect of really kind of connecting and working with you, Mike Kline, what are some of the specific action items for companies really looking to begin their AI journey? How do they evaluate readiness and implementation, and then importantly, how do they get in contact with you to consult on all this?
Well, so I have a website. The website is mkmcpgh.com. That's my consulting business. It's MKMC Consulting. You can email me at mike@mkmcpgh.com. You can hit me up on LinkedIn and follow me there. I encourage you to do that. I do a variety of different things, but if you want to talk about AI, I would just say shoot me an email and hit me up, and let's have a conversation. We could talk about determining your corporate readiness for adopting AI. We could talk about some solutions that you're interested in. I have access to other resources, more to what's the word I'm looking for? Development resources, right? So if we get into more technical solutions, I can bring those to the table, and we could talk about custom solutions for your company.
Excellent. And everyone, please get in contact with Mike Kline. You can find him on LinkedIn, and then also to hit his site. We'll make sure that we put that in the chat to make sure that we have your site in there as well, Mike, after the broadcast ends. So thank you, everyone, for joining in on this Coatings Talk live stream with all the technical issues. So as we wrap up, it's clear that the global coatings and corrosion industries, it really stands at a pivotal moment. The adoption of digital transformation and the integration of AI agents within businesses are really no longer just options. They're really essential for driving innovation, improving efficiency, and staying competitive in an ever-evolving market. By embracing these AI technologies, we can unlock new possibilities, address challenges, be more effective, and pave the way for a more sustainable and dynamic future. Let's continue to work together in advancing industries into new heights. Until next time, take care and keep driving progress. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.